inside the body of the goddess. Now, I don't know what that tells you, but that means that they lived in a very sacred way.
Yes.
And today we're raping the earth and molesting the animals and doing all sorts of things. We've completely moved away from this.
Separating ourselves from ourselves.
Absolutely. When you know that you're living inside the womb of your mother, and that's where you are, the great goddess, that totally changes the way that you perceive the planet.
Yes.
And the Egyptians and the Native American Indians and the Celtic Druids forbade themselves to cut any living thing with a sharp instrument. Compare that to today's horror, you know.
Raping,
and another way of looking at it also was that the ovum, the tree of life, bears apples. So in ancient days, the apple was always the symbol of the ovum. This is a fact that's been, this has been something that the ancient scholars talked about, because even before these modern books that I mentioned had been written, goddess worship, goddess theories had been written on in the previous centuries, and one of the things that they found was that the symbol of the apple was always a symbol of the ovum. And in fact, in the book of Genesis, when they're talking about the biting of the apple, which the Christians corrupted this myth because they wanted to disempower the female, which they succeeded in doing. I mean, they were absolutely ruthless. For instance, in Gnostic periods, after the advent of Christianity, the Gnostics tried to go back to goddess worship, and they were completely ruthlessly put down. So goddess worship went underground and comes out in alchemy and tarot. So the tarot is a much more profound thing than people realize. But the apple, as I said, was always a symbol of the female ovum. So the biting of the apple, the serpent biting the apple, or the serpent asking someone to bite the apple, was always a symbol of conception, because the serpent has always been the symbol in ancient times of the sperm, the spermatozoon. So when the sperm is coiling around the apple, as you see it, the apple is the ovum. So actually the serpent biting the apple or telling someone to bite the apple was always a covert, cryptic story about conception, which was always the province of what? The goddess, the female. So Christians, the founding fathers of Christianity, the patriarchs, needed to get rid of this. They needed to get rid of the supremacy of the goddess.
And they blamed the woman again.
The whole book of Genesis was to do this. It was a propaganda mission to disempower the female. In fact, they didn't do it really that successfully in some senses, because the word Genesis still talks about the goddess, because the word Genesis, as the scholars know, means the genes or the generation of Isis. Genesis, the first book of the Bible, means generation or genes of the goddess Isis.
And Isis was the moon goddess.
Well, no, yes, she was a goddess of the moon when the lunar cult was prevalent on Earth. But see, each cult will use the goddess. The goddess is an all-pervasive archetype, and everyone has their own use for it. But the supreme goddess, as I say, so this is, you know, Orthodox religion, and that's why women are prohibited to have any form of doctrinal or clerical or ecclesiastical duty, because they know that if we get back in touch with the feminine, there might be a complete change in the mindset. And so there's been an absolute 100% prohibition within the Catholic Church and within Orthodox religion in general to debar women. And women don't even know really why they're being debarred. This is the whole problem. You know, they need to find out that in the stellar cults, the lunar cult, and the solar cult and the Saturnian cult, women played a very big role. And it's only in a very, what we would call modern history, that the tables have been turned. So there's lots of different ways of looking at it, and you know, I go into this when I'm talking about the tarot.
In your classes?
Yeah, my tarot classes are not the traditional classes on tarot. They teach you, of course, how to use the tarot, but we go into the wider areas of ancient mythology and history, and associated subjects, sacred geometry, alchemy, and definitely the role of the goddess, because if you lift any of these cards, you'll notice there's one right there, for instance. There's an example of the goddess image.
The world card.
And here's another one, Temperance, the 14th card, you see, in the tarot. So these are clearly based on the goddess, and you have at least, you know, 9 or 10 images of this goddess. And that's why, and as I said, the word tarot meant her name in the first place anyway.
Now it's been said that the tarot is a doorway into our soul. So is it a hologram of our soul when they speak that the tarot is the book of life? Is that what they're speaking about, the scholars are speaking of?
Yeah, book of life is a good term, the great book of life. And I look at it more as a living oracle. That you see, the goddess, as we've been talking, some people might be thinking that the goddess worship is something of the past. Something dated and you know, something that only archaeologists would find interesting, or people who study ancient history. But as a matter of fact, the goddess force is all pervasive, and it's as alive today as it was before. And the way to get in touch with it is to enter into our own right brain. We have to incorporate the right brain thought or modality or way of expression. There's different ways of looking at it. And these are just terms, but when you start operating from the yin energy within you, then you are in synchronousness with the universe.
Yes.
And the one way that I found it's best to do that is through visuals. The tarot is better than all of the other divination arts because it's purely visual. And the mind likes visuals, just like the child mind.
Yes, yes.
You see, before the child gets contaminated by the linear way of thinking,
Yes.
it deals with visuals.
Yes.
And therefore the tarot brings us back to that place and brings that sort of magic back into our life.
Yes.
And then by way of tarot, when you're listening to this wisdom body, it starts to take you to a different place of empowerment in your life. Because we have a habit of asking 70 to 80% of our questions to other people,
Yes.
who then go around asking other people for their answers.
Yes.
And this goes on decade after decade. And this is the reason why we reach middle age and still have only a basically hit or miss accuracy when it comes to solving our problems. Now, this is not what the ancients taught.
No.
They taught about having wisdom, you know, in your middle age and as you get older, that you should embody wisdom, not senility.
Right.
So today we're going the wrong way about it. We are literally half-witted.
Yes.
You know,
I
we
would
are,
agree with
yeah,
that.
we are people who are working with only half of the mind and only a very small part of that.
Yes.
So the right brain is more inclusive. It's holistic. It deals with alchemy. Alchemy sees the whole in every part, whereas physics sees the part within the whole.
Yes.
Physics divides and separates.
Yes.
Physics reduces the divine to the human, whereas alchemy takes the human up to the divine. So there's lots of different ways of looking at it, and alchemy is nothing but tarot. Tarot is the book of life. When you know its operations and its motions, you can bet that it will bring magic into your life.
So if you wanted to share with us a little bit about what types of people come to your class. Do you have Christian people come? Do you have young people come? Old people, men, women, from all groups?
Yeah, from all walks of life.
From all walks of life.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing, you know, segregating about it. There's people from all walks of life. In fact, since I've been working in California, I've found people from a lot of professional spheres.
Yes.
Because again, it has been used. Even royalty and people behind the scenes of government have been using the divination arts to empower themselves.
Absolutely.
And I know this because I practice it, and I've given readings to people who are on the you know, professional level, the executive level, and they seem to be benefiting from it. So it's becoming more aware now as the New Age movement has helped people to realize that there is a very practical use for this. I mean, we don't have time anymore in life for something that's not practical.
Right.
And of course, it turns out that the tarot is very practical as well. It can help you in relationships, in business, in any kind of financial dealings that you're doing. It deals with problem solvings. It deals you in family situations. And of course, ultimately in your spiritual development is what it's for. But it is a very practical oracle. And the feminine, in the ancient days, the feminine was connected with the oracles.
Absolutely.
You know, when in Delphi, in Cappadocia, and all of these places in the world that were connected with sacredness, and in Celtic Ireland as well.
Yes, yes.
The goddess was connected with the oracles.
Yes.
But you have a living oracle within you. And we, in this world today, especially in the 21st century now, we need to get in touch with that oracle.
Absolutely.
And the tarot is one of the most important ways of doing that.
So it sounds like tarot is a wonderful way to invoke the goddess and the divine energy within yourself, and yet become closer to your source.
Absolutely. And
So
in fact, it does that very quickly.
Yes.
It does that. It helps you get in touch with your inner source, which is the goddess force. But it takes somebody of integrity and wisdom to explain it, because there's a lot of charlatanism. There's a lot of superficial research that's gone into it.
Yes.
And a lot of fetish tarots and all sorts of things out there. But there's an authentic tarot, and there's an authentic way to teach it, which is connected with Kabbalah, with numerology, and astrology. And that's what we go into.
Well, that's what we need, scholars like you, to feed the tree of life, to come alive again. Well, thank you so much for coming this evening, Michael, and speaking about it. Thank you.